You know what? I was the first one to log in. I wonder if it's making me the host. Let me log out.
Hang on. I got it.
Oh, okay.
I logged in through the link I sent you guys instead of going to my Zoom account and starting from there. So we're good. We're good. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 16, right? Okay, we're missing one person, unless they're on. Nope. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start since we're already a couple of minutes late. And so as I keep telling you guys, this is my first rodeo. So be kind. And I think I have the document fairly edited from what I sent you guys. So I'm going to share my screen, and my plan is just to go through page by page and for you guys to say, wait a minute, that's wrong, or when did that change, or we need to add whatever. And that's why I was so stressed about making sure it was recording, because I want to make sure if I miss a comment that I can get it later. So share. All right, do you see that screen? No. Can you see the Word document? Nope.
See if you're a puppy.
Isn't she cute?
Yes.
Her name is Karma, and she earns that name. So, all right.
There's a Word document.
Thank you. So I'm looking away from you because my camera's in the other spot. But so let me get rid of all the paragraph stuff because that's very distracting. So is July 1st the date that this is typically instituted or whatever? I know we go over it. Jay, you're muted. I know we go over it in the March-April meeting with everybody. And my understanding is it's pretty complete at that point. But the fiscal year starts July 1, so that's why I have that on there. And Lori and Jennifer, thank you so much. They spent hours and hours with me going over the manual and giving me initial edits. And some of those won't be in here because it's been reviewed by others. So I don't have page numbers because they continue to change. So I'll get that filled out. Like I said, this is still a draft. So I have updated the CTE contacts, which will be updated again before March because we should have a new associate director who will report to Sonia. And then our ag and business folks should not be interim by March. I'm not sure who's being hired. I think those are the changes. So let me see. If I make this a little smaller, can you still see it? Okay. So this is the CTE coordinator expectations, and we did change this a little bit. Like I said, Lori and Jennifer looked over it with me and said, well, that's not something we do, or we also need to do this. So let's go through this. And again, let me know if you've got questions or edits or whatever. So
Lydia, yes, my first question is in that very first paragraph where it says on the last sentence, it says consortia or single LEA. I really don't know what my role is toward I have one single LEA, and I'm not sure about my role with that school because, you know, they don't they don't give money toward Perkins. And
Right.
if this is a Perkins manual, it seems like that should be eliminated because I don't give services unless I give state services. I give my, if it's a state thing, but not anything Perkins related.
So my understanding is that CTE coordinators and the co-ops should be a resource for those LEAs that are within your district. I know the funds aren't managed by the consortia for those single LEAs, but you can be a point of contact for them. Does that make sense?
Yes. I just assumed that this list of duties had to do, and it does. It says it right up there at the top that it's Perkins. And I feel like my responsibility toward that single LEA is nothing about anything on this list, but it does have something to do with. Let me turn my phone off. But I do service them if it is a state, a state duty. So
the sentence says that you encourage the development, implementation, and improvement of programs for all districts. So, we talk a lot about collaboration, and I'm thinking if there are activities or ways for you to collaborate, that would be another way. Sonia or Jennifer, Lori, do you guys want to jump in with anything?
And my reasoning for this is that I don't want that single LEA coming in and saying I'm not doing my job toward them, even though they're not placing their money with me.
Right.
Hi, this is Sonia. Sorry, I was trying to unmute my phone and I couldn't figure out how to do it. But no, the intent is on track with what Lydia was saying, is that we do not have the expectation that you would be responsible for what is happening with that single LEA, but just if by proximity or geographic location that you can just serve as a resource if they have questions that may assist them, that just generally overall you have an understanding of. Because we know that with some of our single LEAs, they have a lot that they may be assigned other than just CTE, so they may not just be as knowledgeable about CTE, where that is, mainly your responsibility if your co-op is just CTE. So from that regard, and then definitely if they come up with things that you feel like, oh, I'm just not comfortable answering that, then definitely refer them on to us. But we don't have the expectation that you would have responsibility for them as saying, overseeing their Perkins expenditures or anything like that. Does that help any, or is it still, you need more clarification?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree with it. So I'll just take it as it is, because I don't know how the other coordinators feel, but when, part of my salary is comes from Perkins, and I just think that there's something needs to be changed. If I have to sign off on this document, I just don't agree. Well, I'll move on.
No.
Well, so I guess what we need to talk through is is it the way that it's worded?
Yes.
Because more so, I think it would be, what we're wanting to have as the intent is that it would be a colleague to colleague conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't want you to, again, feel like I'm now held responsible for what they do correctly or what they do incorrectly. It's just colleague to colleague. Like if I have a question about, something that somebody over in DESE maybe can provide more information because they just are more knowledgeable in that area, then I can reach out to them and just say, hey, I have a question about this. But they're not going to be held liable or responsible for what I do in my division. It's just a colleague-to-colleague opportunity. So if we need to word it differently to where it's not where it's being presented as an obligation or requirement for accountability, then we can do that. But that's just the intent of it.
I
think
sorry.
it's how it reads when you look at saying through the following job tasks,
Mhm.
and that it has the intent that all of these things listed you would be responsible for, whether you're in a consortia or there's a single LEA in your district. I think it's just how it reads, and that's why, again, we can't provide the same services to those in our consortia as those out of our consortia, because they're not helping fund that. And so I think it's how it reads in the intent, saying that consortia or single LEA, and then through these following job tasks that we are asked to, sign at the back. So I think that that's probably how it, what Rhonda was getting at, right, Rhonda?
Yes, that's very good, Jennifer. I didn't put it in those words.
Yeah, so we'll take note of that, and we'll look at that and see if we can tweak the language a bit to where it doesn't make it appear as if that you'll be held accountable for any missteps that are being done by a single LEA.
And my plan today is, like I said, for us to go through this draft. I can't say that enough, that it is a draft. And then as I'm making notes, when we get done, I'll put a document together and put it on the Google Docs and ask for your input on the different things. And then we can, go look at those edits.
Lydia, this is Lori Mitchell.
Hey.
To me, that could easily be done where you put the improvement of CTE programs for all districts within your consortium. And then you could put in italics or something, CTE coordinators will also assist single LEAs as needed, or will provide technical assistance. Because I can tell you, like, I do not do completers and certifications and placement for my single LEAs. So to me, these are CTE coordinator from a Perkins standpoint. So you could easily just put within their consortium and then italicize that they also provide technical assistance to those single LEAs. And that to me would probably take care of it altogether. How you feel about that, Rhonda?
I think I'm sorry, Laurie, but I think the single LEAs, I think that's great, but the single LEAs would have to know what technical assistance means, because in their book, that could mean this whole list here. So we might change that to communication, or I don't know, another word, because when I see technical assistance, that means lots of different things to me.
So we'll take note of all that, and we'll work on the wordsmithing of that, and then prior to the next discussion, we'll review that.
All right. Legally bind the district cooperative with regard to the Perkins federal funds, the data collection and reporting. And as you guys know, this is kind of a moving target at this point as we work with DIS to get the information on placement, which you'll still have responsibilities for filling in those gaps that we can't get from workforce services, higher ed, those kinds of things. So the completers, certifications, placement, and then improvement plans for indicators not meeting that 90% threshold of meeting the indicator. Do those make sense? Okay. Program review, and we've changed the language from, I think it was technical assistance or technical advice or something, to DCTE tiered support, preparation, desk audits, and follow-up for those program reviews, and reviewing non-certified. September course polls each September, follow-up on programs with study flags. And let me go over that a little bit. That's a suggestion that Jennifer and Lori gave me that currently you guys are not getting course pull information until I think mid to late October. And then you're supposed to review your courses and your programs of study, but it's past the date for you to be able to edit anything in terms of course codes. So I met with the Office of Innovation for Education up in Fayetteville last week, and they agreed that we could pull a non-certified course pull in September. So what that means is, you know, they haven't verified everything at the state level. But to give that to you in September, the program coordinators here will look over it. We'll get it out to you. They'll give you any flags, and there will be some things that you'll go, well, that's not a problem. So you'll just communicate that back with us. And then if there are issues, you've got time before that September 30th deadline to make any course changes. Does that make sense? We're hoping that'll be helpful. Okay. Providing technical assistance, professional development and technology training, new teacher assistance, policies and procedures interpretation, resource distribution, support services for special populations, startup grant support, along with equipment inventory. And that was something that we talked about. So we may need to jump into that one as well. And then safety and equipment guidelines. Are there
Those are two right there that I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
We, you know, as you probably have discussed already, we do not get the equipment inventory for our new startup grants. It's, I mean, we just don't get a copy of that. And then, of course, we've had many discussions about safety and equipment guidelines. And it's the safety one that we don't know ag safety. And so that would be something we would have to be trained in order to go into an ag department and know what's right and what's wrong.
And that is something that we are currently working on, creating that for all of our program areas. So I think that's something that is going to be addressed through videos and also through printed material.
Did you say ag training via video? Like training to assess the agriculture classrooms with a video?
Yeah, we're working on creating videos that can be shared and posted.
Okay. I think the ag program, that would be kind of hard to do that training via video. I mean, I think that'd be great to have a video, but I know there's a lot within an ag classroom that I feel like that would be really hard to assess, like all of those facilities. And Jennifer may jump in here too. I don't know.
I mean, before Chris, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was all.
Okay. Before Chris Backus left, he was working on that. To that and a couple of our other program areas, we're working on creating those videos to outline that. It was being created as a resource for us to be able to continue to do technical assistance and provide support virtually, because still we know we're able to do some visits, but we know they're getting to be limited. And so I know that's something he was working on. So I'm hoping that once we get through that process, we can allow you guys to see that and provide feedback, but that's something I know that we're working on right now.
So Sonia, would that, the safety and equipment guidelines, to me, my interpretation is that the CTE coordinators would point their folks to either the videos that are online or to the program coordinator that's at the state for training purposes? Or is that not the intent?
It was my understanding that the videos would be posted and accessible for public viewing and training. Of course, our office would lead a lot of that. And then for future reference, then you could always go back and review those on your own. But our office would be responsible for those initial support trainings to kind of just explain, detail out what the expectations are, and then they would be available for reference.
So would there be times that we were expected every year, every 2 years to go out and check the safety of our ag programs? And you know, I've been through at least one technical assistance visit where you tell the superintendent they have to have a ventilation system and he does not do it for 5 years. So, you know, those sort of things happen. And so I don't know if me telling someone they need their gas bottles this far apart or something like that would have the weight that it needs to have. So, you know, one of the things I think we are going to have to do is document that we had these conversations, that we went out and checked and we had these conversations, and then follow up with a letter to the administrations. And if nothing's changed, then we're going to have to get the state involved in working on these. But is there a, you know, do we have a timeline? Are we supposed to go every year? How often do we go? Every 5 years?
This is Kelly. Are we responsible for the compliance or simply for the training for the districts? I think is my main question.
Okay, so for your first part of your question with Perkins 5, we have now gone to every 2 years. So that has reduced the time frame of the cycle when we will do visits. And then as it relates to the training and the follow-up, those pieces, I mean, that's not going to be taken away from the state office. We still will have that responsibility to do the follow-up and to ensure that those things are taking place. We just know that we would just like your assistance in being able to do some of those initial checks to help us to understand where are some areas that we need to really target and focus in on. Because we're trying to be a lot more intentional and a lot more directed in how we do our visits. And so we just would like to be able to have you guys serve as a resource to be able to provide that feedback when we know we need to go to a site or we need to follow up with someone. But we will still be scheduling our visits, but just so that you're knowledgeable to be able to provide that feedback when necessary. And as we're continuing to flesh out how that process will work, we'll take all of these thoughts into consideration so we have a process that is fair and reasonable for everyone.
All right, the next one is CTE initiative support. The career clusters and pathways programs of study, curriculum standards, academic attainment of CTE students, statewide initiatives, and this one is new, support of CTSOs by serving as judges for competitions. Oopsie. Work. Yeah, okay. So I want to make sure, and we want to make sure that as part of your supporting is that you're supporting those CTSOs in their competitions, you know, supporting the students, the teachers, all those other things. So that is an added expectation. Okay. Under administration and assistance, annual local application and amendment preparation and submission. And those are, okay, that's not the needs assessment. So the needs assessments are every 2 years. And you'll see a little bit of change to the fund application process here in a second.
Lydia, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I love serving as a judge for the CTSOs, but I just want to make sure, like, I have our local FFA has asked me even before I did this job to serve as a judge. I've been doing it for like 7 years and I've been in this job for 3, but can we get some clarification there of like who initiates that process? Or I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm more than happy to do that job, but if I don't get asked or something like that, I don't want that to come back on us of, should we be approaching that, or should somebody be asking us, or, and maybe that's a dumb question. I don't know other coordinators.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. That's a great question.
No, and Emily, I'm going to add to that. I used to be asked for every event all the time, and that usually came with Jim Brock when he was in the office, the CTESO office. He always made sure that, you know, that I was invited to judge, and he sent out a form and all those good things. And I've noticed the last couple of years, I've not been being invited to judge. And I just judged FBLA yesterday virtually, and for my for state or is it? No, I don't even know if it was. Yeah, I don't know if it's district or state, to be honest with you. But anyway, the only reason I was asked there was because the teacher who has taken that over for the region asked me to do it. And so I've noticed the last couple of years I'm just not being asked, and I don't know if there's a reason for that or what.
So are you saying that the request came from DCTE, our student leadership person? Okay.
Yeah, yes, it did. When Jim Brock was in that office, every event, he sent out an email with a form that said, will you or will you not? So.
Awesome.
Did you all get asked by Bart to judge stuff?
I
Lori,
don't.
no? Okay. I'll make sure he's got the updated list of everybody. So, and now is the time, because we had a meeting yesterday and all the program coordinators here were going, we're going to send you an email soon because we need judges coming up. So, so I'll talk to Bart and we'll get that done. Thank you, Emily, for asking the question.
And Emily, typically I usually judge our regional FBLA and our regional STAR events. I've developed relationships with those teachers that are over those events. So find out who they are in your area and reach out to them and create a relationship with them. And it's beneficial to them. It's beneficial to me. They give great input, and then they often become active members of our regional advisory stakeholder. So that's one idea.
I'm all for it. I just, when it's in our job description, I just want it detailed of how that process should happen. And if it's me reaching out, great. If it's them reaching out, great. I just want that defined a little bit more in case there's, I don't know. I just want it defined if it's on my job description.
Yeah, and I've just looked back, that email from Bart on January 5th, it looks like it went out to everybody, all of the coordinators. So I don't know if the emails aren't up to date or whatever, but it shows that all the coordinators got that on January 5th. So y'all check your box.
Jennifer, is it being sent out through the listserv?
No.
Okay. There, you know, there's a lot of things that are sent out through the listserv that I don't have time to read. So if the subject line is not clear, I delete a lot of stuff. So, you know,
the subject was CTSO state events, and it was from Bart.
I don't remember that one at all. I'll have to go back and look.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
So administration and assistance, where were we? Budget management, reimbursement inventory, implementation of Perkins mandates, accountability, technical equipment purchasing and distribution, attending all CTE coordinator meetings announced by DCTE, maintain the Perkins equipment inventory, and maintain startup equipment list, which you said you were not getting. Sonia, who would we talk to make sure they're getting those equipment lists? Is that the program coordinators here?
Yes, that's a conversation you would have with your fellow coordinators and then just be
Okay.
able to make sure that's being shared.
All right. Anything on that part of the list?
I have a really stupid question.
Okay, stop saying that. There aren't any stupid questions.
It feels really stupid. Okay, so we have mentioned that the needs assessment is every 2 years. The stakeholder meeting is every 2 years. So which school year do we need to do this again? I'm not sure what year we actually conducted those and what year we actually submitted those. So I need to know what year I need to redo both of those requirements.
Allison, it's been 2 years.
So the 2021 school year is when we need to do it again, this school year.
Yeah, we did it at the end of 18-19.
Okay. I've slept since then.
Well,
Allison, this is where I need to have a stakeholder meeting this spring to have it every 2 years. But last year I did my first local needs assessment. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the local needs assessment again this year and have my stakeholders and then get into a 2-year rotation of doing both those things at the same time. I believe that doing the local needs assessment and announcing it at your stakeholder meetings and even working through that is a good, could be a good part of your stakeholders meeting. So I just got to get those two things on the same year, and I'm going to do that this spring.
I am too, and I'm also gonna call it a regional advisory too, and
Yep.
just roll those 3 things into one big event.
that's what I'm doing next week.
That's what I was just going to ask. Stakeholder advisory,
Yes.
same thing?
No, not totally. So under policies and procedures, we still have, it also says that we are to have 2 regional or 2 advisory councils per year. One can be regional and one at the local level. And then Perkins 5 language is on a stakeholder engagement. And what you can do is put those 2 things together so that it's not 3 meetings required. And I really hope that as we fix that policies and procedures, that we could move to this stakeholder type situation, that we are not asking people to meet all the time over and over and over.
Yeah, Jennifer, that's the intent. So I'm glad you made that point and allowed us to be able to make that clarification. But that is the intent, for you to be able to kind of have dual purposes or triple purposes out of an event. Because if you strategically select who attends your activities, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, just making sure the correct people are attending it.
See, Allison, that was a great question. All right, here's the introduction. I'll let you guys read through those few paragraphs and let me know if there are questions. Are you ready for me to scroll a little bit? Yep, okay. So, talking about the Perkins portal, which is new verbiage, and I just made that up. So that term may change. We're using Acebook right now as what I'm calling the Perkins portal. And that's how you submit and we track proposals. We are moving to the grants management system. And I'm not sure where we are in in the development of that, because they're, you know, they're adding things for us that's specific to Perkins, if I'm understanding that correctly, Sonia. And so that's why throughout this document, it's going to say Perkins portal, because it should be changing. Sonia, did you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. Are there questions about that?
Can we get a timeline of when that we could expect to get that information and talk about that more in depth?
Sonia, that's all you.
At this point, we don't have that information, so we wouldn't be able to share that expected timeline. Hopefully, in the near future, we'll be able to share something with you.
All right, so the calendar has changed. The last one was very anorexic, I would say, and partly because I'm new and I want to know what's due when, and partly so we can kind of have an annual calendar of things. We put this together, and like I said, Lori and Jennifer helped with this, and then my meetings with OIE in Fayetteville last week helped to determine when we can get data from them. And a few dates have changed, so I do want us to kind of dig into this and get your feedback, other than my typos. So February 15th, and I have taken off placement. That's right? That used to be there. Because in April, we should, or late April, early May, we should be getting information from DIS, Information Services, about placement. And like I said, there will be a handful of students that you'll have to track down, but we're hoping that will be a much smaller list. So I've taken that off. And right now we're doing the review of the coordinator's manual. February 15th is a deadline to invoice subscriptions, software, and supplemental curriculum that is used only during the current academic year spring courses. So that means if you were only using the software in the spring, right, for spring semester courses. We'll have another date later for all software purchases. That is a change, because it sounds like, you know, if you aren't making those purchasing decisions until November, December, prior to the start of spring or early January, you won't have the invoices. Does that make sense? Okay. Late March, early April is the annual Perkins meeting and the annual presentation of this manual once we've got it kind of finalized. And I'm not sure what dates work for you guys when it says late March, early April. So any suggestions you all have for that meeting, I would appreciate. April testing begins, which you all know, but I will forget, and that's important for OIE in terms of their timeline of other requirements they have. So this is a change. The April 15th to May 14th is submitting Perkins funding requests into the Perkins portal. That used to be a later date, and just wanted to give you a longer timeline to do that.
I'm confused, Lydia.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm confused on that one.
No, go ahead.
Does that's for our new money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you guys call that?
Well,
is it a funding request? Is it a, I'm trying to use the right terminology, but I don't know the terminology. So
I just call it getting it in the portal. I don't know what everybody
Well, no,
Because-
is it Perkins funding request? Is it, you know,
I'm having trouble with the date.
okay,
Because I don't have my consortium board meeting until May. And we've usually had till into June, July 1 to get our requests in.
I'm looking for my other manual.
So what I do is I start asking teachers in February. I try to put together something for my board meeting, or I do put something together for my board meeting. I present that, they vote on it, and then I really flesh out then I start fleshing out the request, put it in the right, the format of it. So, that's fast.
No, but Lydia, wouldn't those initial requests probably just be things like the coordinator's salary and some things that are not changing too much throughout the year? I mean, wouldn't those just be our initial requests that's referring to?
That's actually referring to what Rhonda's talking about, like the whole thing. So, excuse me.
What we talked about is this is the time the portal will open for you to start your new application. It's giving you that time frame from April 15th to May 15th to start putting in your projects. We've got to get back on a timeline where, let's say that you get your application in June, like June 1st. That gives them a month to basically to go through all the projects, and that way things will be substantially approved by July 1. We've got to get back into that time frame. So what April 15th to May 14th means is the portal will open and you can start putting in your projects. That way they'll hopefully be approved by June 1, and then you'll be ready to go July 1, because last year scared me in that we were expending money prior to even putting in our projects. And so this is just getting back on the timeline we used to have, where you could start working on your Perkins application in May.
Well, that sounds great, because that's not a problem. I just don't want to be held to that I have to have it all in by then. So if that's just when the portal opens, that's perfect.
I think having that deadline, it looked like you had to have it in between April 15th and May 14th. I think that's what was throwing us off.
And it would help me a lot because I'm new and still confused if we put what year this was for.
So the reason so for upcoming.
Yeah, this would be 21, 22.
Well, and we're not going to put, we don't want to put years on this document because it will be the dates will be the same. So I'm trying to put, it is submit Perkins funding request for upcoming academic year. Does that help? Amanda, does that help or not?
Yes.
And y'all got to think about it. I mean, in the end, there is really no deadline for you to put in projects. You can put in projects the whole year, but what you want to say is, are the ones that we need to have substantially approved done by July 1. That's salary. That's PD if you got somebody traveling. It's not that I'm going to buy a piece of equipment, down the line. That's continuous. And so there really is no deadline except what needs to be substantially approved before July 1 when you start expending money.
So can we change that May 14th to a different date that extends that a little bit?
Well, I'm going to go back to what Lori's saying is, we at DCTE we need time to review and approve.
And make adjustments.
Right, yeah. Because we've got, where is that? Deadline for post-approval edits for current fiscal year is June 20 at this point. So again, we've got to give time for our folks here to look at what you're requesting, review, get feedback to you to say, you know, we need some edits or whatever.
Those are 2 different years though, Lydia.
Thank you,
Those are
Jennifer.
You're welcome. I just didn't want you to.
I appreciate you so much.
It's okay. When we started talking about this, guys,
Current fiscal.
you know, years ago, we had to have everything in by like May 15th. That was our actual true deadline. And the reason when we looked at that for accountability purposes, there could be some accounting issues because we did not have our projects even, the portal wasn't even open. We couldn't even put anything in. And so that's kind of scary when we go back and look at those things that we have got a pretty off kilter on some of our dates just because we couldn't, there was nothing we could control about it. And so we looked at those dates and said, how could we get this back and give them time to look at those projects that need to be substantially approved, kind of like what Emily said, make sure you get those ones that you know are going to be in there, and you have teachers traveling July 1. We need to make sure we have those projects in and covered and taken care of and approved by that time.
I think what needs to change here is that April 15th to May 14th, the portal opens, and then you need a separate date for something that's going to be substantially approvable. So your July 1 would be the date for substantially approvable.
Is that right? Lori, Jennifer, help.
I think that it would be when that you guys would be able to approve it by July 1, but we would still have to give you guys time to approve it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know what that time frame, if that, you know, if you would have those that need to be substantially approved by July 1 in, you know, there would have to be maybe a date where that would give you guys, whether it's a week or I'm not sure what you would need to be able to approve those projects.
Lydia, what you could do is where it says July 1, where it says Perkins fiscal year begins,
Mm-hmm.
you could put all substantially approved projects must be approved. You know, that's, I mean, that's what you want, is you want those approved by July 1. So where you got that Perkins fiscal year begins, and say all projects must be substantially approved. And y'all, those are the reoccurring things. Those are the things like your salary, your PD that you have every year. So it's not, you know, like you're not having to come up with a whole lot of new projects. It's really the ones that basically you do every year. And we've always had that. That's always been a rule, is that by July 1, there were, like, remember when Maria would send out a list and say, PD, salary, this had to be substantially approved by July 1. It's just getting back to that.
So is that?
And y'all, that's to protect all of us if we got an audit.
So is that all program funding? Because the projects are underneath the program, is that right?
I think all substantially approved projects must be, because then, you know, there are projects that might not be required for approval, but substantially approved means the PD, you know, or anything you're going to expend funds on, and the bullet below about funding requests will not be considered for substantial approval until the comprehensive local needs assessment is submitted and confirmed as received. Is going to put a time crunch on either you guys or us one.
So you said PD, salaries, what were the other things you guys said?
It's basically anything that you would be spending Perkins dollars on in the first month, July to August. And then, you know, once those are approved, then we can get the approval for just what the schools are asking for. So I wouldn't put first month expenditures on there though, right. But it's anything, it's just anything like our salary, PD, anything that's going to happen on July 1st has to be substantially approved.
I think
Okay.
in the past it was PD salaries, administrative cost.
Okay.
I think also y'all help me here. Wasn't it also certifications?
I was just fixing to say, I think certifications was one of those too. And was there a requirement for software, like
That
some software?
is,
No, that wasn't a requirement.
No, you don't want to do software because basically we're saying you can even buy software in the second semester.
right.
So really, I think it's PD, salary, admin, and certification. I think that was what we used to do when Maria was here.
Okay. All right. And again, when we're done with this, I'll send out this edited document for you guys to review and put comments in. And this is an iterative process. We'll go back and forth until we're where we want to be.
Lydia,
Yes.
for the last 2 summers, Facebook didn't open up until mid-July to early August. Can we get an assurance from DCTE that Acebook will be available for us to do this? Because it's this, if not, this will be the 3rd year in a row that we weren't able to do what we need to do. And I'm sorry. I mean, we're all running behind on things this year. Can we get some assurance that it's going to be ready?
So I think our hope is that, I don't know if we'll be in grants management by then, Sonia. So explain to me what needs to happen for Acebook to open for the coming year. Like I said,
what we can say at this point is that we are setting up this calendar with the intent of having everything available for you guys to utilize and meet those expected deadlines. If for some reason that is not going to be the case, we will definitely communicate that with you and support you in making those adjustments. So at this point, that's what we're able to share with you. But definitely if that changes, we realize that we then have to make adjustments on our end on what we need to do to continue to support you. And we'll have to adjust the calendar and the timeline to meet that.
Well, the last 2 years, it's always been the programmers that were the problem. At least that's what we were told. So the programmers need to start a little earlier on whatever changes or whatever needs to be taken care of.
well, and part of what put them off schedule was, I know for this past year, I can't speak prior to that, COVID, because they had to really shift and focus on what supports did the schools need to teach virtually, shifting all of that stuff. So I can't, like I said, I can't speak for earlier years, but
Lydia, I've got just a clarifying technical question on the dates.
Okay.
The effective date of this document, it said it's on the first page, is July 1st, 2021.
right.
So the April 15th through May 14th date, if this is effective as of 2021, are we talking about April of 2021 or are we talking about April of 2022?
So
If the effective date is not until July 1st of 2021.
Gotcha. So because I didn't get a Perkins manual out to you guys for this year, I'm kind of hoping that this calendar would start this year. So we may send out the calendar separately and say, this is where we're going, starting this year. But we wanted to have it obviously in the manual for academic year 21-22. But, I started in mid-October and Sarah had been so swamped getting other things taken care of. So we're trying to get back on track is the answer. And Kelly, I would like it to start this year, 2021, like now. So
So just for reference purposes, if we need to go back and audit, essentially is kind of what I'm looking at, then we may need to issue an updated calendar for the Perkins reference manual for this year that was effective October the 1st of 2020.
Right.
So that the guidelines apply, and just as an amendment maybe to that document. I agree. I think this is great. I think we need to do it, but we also want to ensure that our current manual is correct.
Whoa, why did that go way over there?
It's more of a question.
I completely agree, Kelly, because this manual, we've always been told that this manual, it's basically, if we don't do it, it's a liability on our part. If we don't meet what this manual says, we're not in compliance. And so this probably means more to us than it does to anyone, because this constitutes liability if we don't follow it.
I appreciate that. You know, as I'm going along, you guys are teaching me so much. And once I've been through an entire year cycle, hopefully things will clarify. And I really appreciate you giving me that guidance and telling me what you need. So thank you both.
Sorry. And we can work on our end on those pieces. We've had some other documents here in the division that have had to be amended or implemented mid-cycle, and we've worked on the language to make sure that it's legally covering. So that's something we can work on internally and make sure that it's appropriate before we send it out.
And Jay, let me say something as far as you're concerned about, will we have a portal? I don't think that by any means you can say 100% you will, but I will say this. I know that the computer group over at DESE is working on this. They asked me, well, Dr. Kramer forwarded me a question they had. And so I do know that they're already actively working on trying to get this system going. So hopefully by April, 15th, it will be up and running.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, back to the April 15th information. The second bullet is your comprehensive local needs assessments need to be submitted with your funding request submissions. And again, those are updated every 2 years. So if it's, a year old, that's fine, but we want to make sure we've got every one of those in our files and they're updated.
Lydia, I think we can change that with funding request submissions to with your Perkins application. That's just saying that here's my application. I'm just attaching my local needs assessment instead of funding request.
Okay, where do you want me to put this?
Instead of right after where it says your email address, it says with funding request submissions, but with Perkins application.
You want me to get rid of the funding request submission? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Also, I never felt like I knew what I was doing on the local needs assessment. I did all the steps I was supposed to do, and then I just sent in tons and tons of surveys and things like that. I would like for that to really be streamlined. So this is you want this, 2, you want this, and so that I feel more confident in what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm going to make a note for training.
Rhonda, I completely agree. I think I did more work than was actually required on the needs assessment. I answered every one of those questions, and I would feel better about it this time around if we had some training.
Awesome.
Yes, and also one of the problems with answering the questions was we didn't have any data. So, you know, a lot of them I left blank because I couldn't put any data in there. We didn't have any at that time. We do have data now, so that will help.
Okay. And if there's more information that you do need, whether it's for that or other purposes, certainly reach out to me and let me know what you need. And I will talk with OIE and see if we can get what you're looking for, because we do want to make sure you've got the information you need to make those decisions and requests. Okay. So that next bullet is that the request won't be considered until that needs assessment is submitted and confirmed as received. So my plan is you'll email that to me and I'll reply to that email and say, thanks, we've got it. It's not going to be some big process, just, you know, to let you know it made it here. Just like the email you said you guys couldn't find from Bart. I want to make sure that you know we've gotten it.
Okay, I have a weird question now. When I think comprehensive local needs assessment, I'm thinking of the assessments that I have sent to all my teachers, to all of our stakeholders, all this kind of stuff. But it sounds like what you're talking about is the big form we had to do right at the beginning of our, or at the end of the summer that we had to have in, you say the OME, I can't remember. There's two different documents. Which one are you calling the local needs assessment?
So I'll send out some clarification on that and we will do some training, but your needs assessment is, you know, you're going to talk with business and industry, your stakeholders, all, you know, those meetings should be connected to that. And then you're looking at the data of where, you know, where are your students succeeding, where are they struggling, looking at your enrollment in the different programs of study, and then you create a document that says, here's what we've identified our community needs. And then when you're submitting programs, right, your program request, your project request, they need to connect back to that needs, that the local needs, right? So we want to make sure we've got that path of, there's a reason you're offering that, that program of study. There's a reason you're requesting that equipment, all that kind of stuff. So that's the needs assessment. It is a fairly big thing. Does that make sense?
It does. So what was the document that we had to do, like when we were writing our Perkins, or for Facebook, all that we had to do, and we pulled data? What is that? Is that going to be something yearly we have to do, or is that a one-time thing?
I believe that's the needs assessment. Am I right or wrong?
It was the local plan.
Okay.
Like,
I think I was confused too. Is it because when we had our stakeholder meetings, initially we were gathering data for DCTE to write the new Perkins plan. And then we did our local needs assessment to write our own local Perkins application.
Right.
So that was a 1 year weird thing where we helped gather data for the actual state plan. And then now every 2 years, we'll gather our information for our local application. Is that right?
Yes.
And yeah, that's the way I understand it. So you kind of think about it as your local needs assessment helps you do your local plan. But when we submit them together collectively, they help the state also do their state plan and be able to keep that data. So if you kind of think about it like that, so we still have to do that for our stuff, and then we together help form the whole state, that we show that we've covered the whole state, as well as be able to show the needs of the whole state in different areas. And so there's actually, when they talk about it in the Perkins, there's a talking about the local plan, and sometimes in a way it's referring to you in your area. Then it also is talking about a state local plan, which is what they do when we put all of our stuff together collectively.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Yep, and that is a very good explanation. You are correct.
I was just going to say the same thing. That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yep.
So I have a question. So when we're pulling that local data, and I guess I have a little bit of a weird circumstance because most of my industries have now created actual video documentation, and I have written from last year, but so I guess when we're creating those local needs assessments and such, does it have to be in like a Google Doc or something like that? Or could we pull information from like something that's been recorded or from our stakeholder meeting that's been said verbally? Like, does it have to be in written documentation or can
No,
it be in other
yeah,
recorded documentation?
absolutely. Yeah. If you're getting that feedback from meetings, any other way, you can certainly incorporate that. I mean, that's what you're hearing from your stakeholders, your business leaders, advisory councils, all the different things that we name. So absolutely, those should inform your needs assessment and your local plan. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have to, I've already assessed those stakeholders, so I don't have to reassess them and have them fill out some like Google Doc. I already have that in another form. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, as long as you have record of it, that will work.
And the record can be, we met on this day. If you've got them signing in or, some sort of verification of who was there.
I think where we are with all of this is, we've been trying to meet the letter of the law. And so we did the stakeholder meeting again to help the state. And now we should be having our really first stakeholder meeting, what I'm gonna call a local stakeholder meeting this year. To me, yes, I'm going to do a Google form for my local needs assessment. That way, I have every teacher to answer that. And, those businesses that I send that out to, administrators. But the thing that we're missing, Lydia, is a way to document the results of that local needs assessment. If you want us to say, okay, this is our greatest findings of our stakeholder meeting, this is our outcomes, this is what our actions will be. We don't have any type of document that we submit that information on. So yes,
Okay.
we've been doing these things and we've been told that it will in the future link to our Perkins projects, but yet we're going just like we've always gone and doing it just like we've always done it. So to me, you all would need to develop some type of document that we fill out to say, here are our findings for our local needs. This is what we're going to do to meet those needs. And this is our responses. And we don't have anything like that. So to me, that would probably be to be developed is how do we address what we have surveyed.
And also, Lori, that's wonderful. And also it would be nice if we all use the exact same questions to our stakeholders.
Yeah, we can certainly put together some guiding questions, but then I think you probably would have some additional questions that might be specific to your area. But yeah, absolutely, we can put together a document that can guide you. I think some of that's in the state plan, Sonia.
Yeah, it is. We do have a template, and we have a specific template that was designed for our co-op. So we can share that with you guys, so you can have that to make sure, like the point was made, to be able to have consistent questions across all areas. So that's something we can share.
And I think that needs to be part of that Perkins meeting at the end of March or early April is how to take some sample data from someone's local needs assessment and how you would fill out that form that, what is our responses, what are our actions? We need to be trained on that.
And I still need clarification because the Google survey that I sent out to my stakeholders, that is the local needs assessment. What is the document that had pages and pages of questions that we filled out? Is that my local plan? And if so, how often do I need to edit that?
I'd have to see the document that you're talking about. Do you have a copy of that, Allison?
Yes, somewhere. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It had some of the questions were in red. There was multiple pages, and we would say, see, some of the questions we didn't have to answer. We could say, see this other document. I
Yeah,
know I
I
was
was
from
talking
home.
about. That was the second one I was talking about.
So if you guys could send that, if you could send an example to Lydia so we can look at that and figure out exactly if we still need to be considering these pieces or we need to do something different so we can see what that is, because that would be helpful.
I'll find ours.
It was called the Combined Comprehensive Needs Assessment and Local Application Tool Secondary. And we had to
Dash
submit
secondary.
July 1, but a lot of it, Sarah allowed us to say, I've attached my local needs assessment.
Okay, yeah. So we just send that to us, we can take a look at it.
But we also had to attach several things. I want to say there was like 5 or 6 things that we had to also put together in one place. And that was where we put, everybody's local needs assessment was attached. I'm trying to find that email that we sent to Sarah so that I can share that with you guys to see what it looked like.
I just forwarded that to Sonia and
Okay.
Lydia. I found mine.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank
We'll
you.
take a look
Yeah.
at that, and we'll include that also for our follow-up conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I do have another question. My bookkeeper asked me for a mid-year report, and I have no idea what she's talking about. Do any of you all?
We took that off. We didn't know what mid-year report was either. That used to be something due, and we no longer do that.
Great.
Yeah, it was on the calendar and it went bye-bye, or it was on the list of duties or something. Yeah, because if folks that have been around for a while don't know what it is and haven't done it, and there's not really any need for it. And we did meet with the finance folks. I see Jan's on here. So yeah, that went away. So just tell her not to worry. All right, it is almost 9:30 and we're on what, page 3? All right, so where were we? May 1st is the deadline to join or leave. Is it a consortia? That's the singular, right?
The
And we don't want any leaving, we want joining. So that's also, and again, this is my hope, because Gary McGough from DIS is saying he should be able to access the placement information April, like mid-April. So I am hoping by the 1st of May, we'll have that here at DCTE and be able to send it out for you, out to you to fill in any of those holes for placement. And then I have June 20th as the deadline to submit that final list of placement for completers for previous academic year. And then we talked about the deadline for post-approval edits. Thank you, Jennifer, for saying that's the current academic year. 50% of total equipment must be purchased by June 20th. And all funds for current fiscal year must be obligated. July 1st, the fiscal year begins. Reminder that local funds do not carry forward. So if you have things left over, they're not carrying forward. Funds cannot be obligated until your application is substantially approved, July 1st. Program approval decisions are finalized by DCTE, July 1st.
and Lydia, things got taken care of on approvals this year. It was a fast process. I was very happy with that. It still is a fast process at this time.
Yay, I like to hear good stuff. That's awesome. So we've backed up the state startup application process opening, thinking that you might have, it'll give you a little more time for you to create those state startup applications. And let me see, when did we say? It's like November, I think. Yeah, November 1st is still the deadline to submit those applications. So you've got a long period of time to be able to think about those, review, submit.
That'll be great, Lydia. That's appreciated.
Yeah, that's thanks to Lori and Jennifer, because they were like, why do we have to wait? Why can't we start working on them if we have time? So, so August 15th, again, this is a tentative date for the new CTE coordinator orientation. And my plan for this August is anyone that started 2021 and the new 21-22 folks will be in that orientation, because I don't think there was anything or much of anything this past summer. But that will be, it will only be open to new coordinators, because it sounds like some of you used to creep into the meeting, and then it's intimidating for new folks to be able to ask questions. And I will ensure that everyone is notified if there's changes or updates or anything. What, Jay? Hello? There you go.
So, have we not been good?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't here.
I mean, this meeting, have we not been good? Have I not been, I've been sitting over here and smiling. I've been over here and I've taken all of this information. Are we not changing things a lot this year? Are we not in some ways new to the new processes? So you're going to tell us we don't qualify for meeting in which we might pick something up that would make us better at our jobs?
Hey, I will.
That's okay. If you don't want us there, I won't be there. No problem.
Jay, I got to defend this, okay? Listen, we bull over on those new CTE coordinators. We turned it into our meeting and we ask the questions we want to know the answers to, and then they don't learn. I've talked to several of them before and they get nothing out of it if we are in the meeting, because they're not getting the attention that they need.
And I would like to share that when I first started, Mary Ellen called, there was 5 new CTE, counting the single LEAs and me. And we sat in a room with Mary Ellen and she went through this entire book just for us. And it wasn't intimidating. It was a really good time for us to pick up and ask questions and not be, like she said, intimidated. And I think somewhere along the line, they were being told things that others weren't being told. And so it made it where we wanted to start being at those meetings to make sure we didn't miss any information. And I think that's, if Lydia, sends us out any kind of updates, it still lets them have that intimate meeting where they can get to know each other and get to know all these pieces without leaving us out. So it's not meant to leave us out, Jay, but it's meant to try to help bring them in and let them ask questions.
And for
the
me,
solution might be to just simply record the meeting and then we can watch it later and pick up on things that maybe we didn't know previously.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys know I record all our meetings. So any of us can go back and look at things, and for me especially, to go, okay, what was that Kelly said, or so it'll be recorded. And honestly, Jay, it is meant so those new folks can ask the questions that they think are basic or stupid or whatever. And then like Jennifer said, I'm going to make sure that if there's anything new, any updates, that kind of stuff, it comes out to you. I hope you have all felt like I'm communicating fairly regularly and sending you updates. If that's not the case, let me know or let Sonia know that you need something different, because that is my intent.
You have done a wonderful job, Lydia. You really have. I mean, your communication with us has been awesome. And I just wanted to make sure that it was still going to stay awesome. You know, I didn't want to be left out, but I understand what you're saying. It's all good.
Yeah. No, it's never my intent to leave anybody out of information that's relevant to your work. So, all right.
It's difficult. It's difficult for me to be in the meetings that we have where all coordinators are in there, single LEAs and co-op coordinators, because a lot of the questions that they ask, I'm, most time know the answer to, and I feel like the meeting slows down a little bit, but and a lot of times things apply to them that don't apply to us and vice versa. So I prefer to have a meeting with just the 15 coordinators, but they feel like they are being left out of the meetings. So anyway, it goes all over. Jay, we're going to kick you out of this meeting right now. Okay. You can't come to this meeting.
Well, and you're about the third or fourth person to say that to me about the meeting structure, that you'd prefer to have some with just this group. So I'm rolling that around, and if you guys have suggestions, I mean, I'm more than happy to have a meeting with just this group, and then have an open meeting for everyone that you could attend or choose not to. Because I certainly don't want to slow things down for you guys. And again, I'm learning. It's been 3 months, just 3.5 months that I've been here. And so not having an understanding of the difference between you guys and the single LEAs, I just didn't, and I'm still learning about the differences, but like I said, I'm someone that wants to communicate and share information. So I just had, let's all get together and have a party. So we may move to having a meeting for you guys monthly, and then having an all meeting that you can or choose not to. And I'll make sure that's in the email language so you don't get dinged on your requirements to attend all DCTE meetings. So I do appreciate that feedback, and I saw several heads going, yes. So, all right, August 30th, deadline for reporting certifications for the May, June graduates. Does that work for you guys? Also, deadline for reviewing completers of programs of study for the previous school year. As I said earlier, September 10th is when we'll plan to send out that unverified course poll for you to review, for the program coordinators here to review and make any flags to programs or questions. So then there is time before that September 30th last day to make changes. September 17th is, so that's a week later, that the coordinators that are program coordinators would let you guys know of any program of study flags, and notification of approved programs of study will be sent out to CTE coordinators and single LEAs. And I will make sure that you all are copied on the program approvals sent to those single LEAs, so you do know everything that's going on within your district. September 30th. Yes, please. Go ahead, Stacy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask on the reporting of the certification and completers, will we get an updated template so that they're all the same and they already have the certifications pre-populated in there, and then we send that out to our teachers? We would compile one big document to send to you, but would we get a new template for those things?
Did you get a template this year or last year or whenever year?
I don't think we've gotten a good template this year, or Carolyn, you may jump in. She's good at sending me the good templates, but we haven't got one lately, and they're really helpful.
Lydia, we just need one that mirrors what you need in your office. So whatever whatever format you need in your office, we need to send that format out to our teachers and get it back.
That sounds good to me too.
Hey guys, I've got a question about completers. What about these districts that are having like graduation where they recognize and they need certificates for completers? I mean, I know we had that template in the past, but we've got reporting, reviewing completers for the previous year on August the 30th.
So, so my understanding is that you guys will, sorry, I'm scrolling, that you guys do have to create your completer list. Yes, sorry. The completer concentrator thing's always in my mind. In the spring, so you've got them ready for graduation. So I will create a new certificate template because Lori was really trashing it. I'll just have to tell you, it was Lori. She's a complainer. She's never happy. So I'll create, she said it was like you couldn't go from play anyway. So yes, we will create a new template for the certificate and send it out. And then for the stickers, I need to talk with Sonia again about how we do all that. It sounds like you guys were sending requests to each program coordinator, which to me seemed kind of clunky. It would make sense to me if you'd had one template. Maybe I should create a template of a number of completer stickers. Thanks, Stacy, for chuckling. For all completer stickers that you need for each area. And then we can put them all together in one little mailing thing and get them out to you.
Lydia, I have turned that over to my teachers to request those because it was kind of a nightmare when they were constantly making changes to the completer list to constantly be asking your staff for more and on and on. So I just turned that over to the teachers and I just don't do that anymore.
So did you give them a deadline?
Well, no, not on stickers because I didn't know what the deadline was.
But Rhonda, you could still send that out to your teachers for them to request. It would help them also know where to request at or what to look for.
Yes, that's a very good idea because they a lot of times are lost in that process and call me about it. But it became a nightmare for me to try to take care of, and I just turned it over to them.
Okay. All right. So we, excuse me, we're at 9:44. And we were supposed to end at 9:45. So can we get through the calendar? And then obviously we've got to make like 7 more meetings to get through this. So where were we? September 30th, course code changes, and last day to make any changes to programs of study that were flagged. October 15th is the deadline to invoice subscription software and supplemental curriculum used during the entire current academic year. So again, we've got that separate date if you're just using things for the spring, but this is for entire year deadline. November 1st is the state startup application deadline. And December 15th is the prior year state startup reimbursements due. That's the end of it, yes. So, as I said, I'm going to send you a copy of this document that we're working through so you can see the rest of it. There are still a few things that I have to update and change. You'll see like towards the end of the document. So I'm continuing to work on that, but please make notes and suggestions, those kinds of things. And then I will schedule another meeting pretty quickly for us because we need to get through this. So it's ready to actually be final before that March meeting. Anything else?
Thank you. This has been very helpful.
Oh, thank you all so much for your guidance, for your suggestions, for your clarifying all kinds of things. I really appreciate this group. It's been such a joy with my work here. All right, we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for all you're doing, Lydia. And you do such a good job at
Oh, you're
coordinating these
sweet.
meetings. You really do, and trying to take what we're saying and then relaying that into written format. You did a really good job. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's, you know, some days it's like, oh my gosh. So
We definitely appreciate you guys' feedback and your
yes.
patience as we're processing through all of this. So it's been very, very helpful. Thank you.
all right, thank y'all.
Do you guys have questions? I can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself, Jay? I'm sorry. You want to write something in the chat? Can you write in the chat? Okay. All right. Shannon, did you have something? All right. Jay, do you want to stay on and me call you? Or just call you? Okay. All right.